We'll go ahead and start our March 21st, 2024 meeting of the Cannabis Compliance Board. Can we please have a roll call?
Yes, James Hum, Executive Director for the record. Chair Guzman Freilich.
Present.
Vice Chair Durrett.
Here.
Justice Douglas.
Here.
Member Merritt.
Present.
Dr. Mazarana.
Present.
We have a quorum, Chair. I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to public comment. I did get a note. I think at some point I might have mentioned that public comment was limited to 2 minutes. Our agenda states 3 minutes. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. But I do appreciate giving everybody an opportunity to speak if we're running late or if we have a lot of items on the agenda. So we'll go to public comment. We'll start down in the south.
Chair, before we start.
Oh,
Yes, Sarah needs to read it into the record.
thank you, Sarah.
Provide public comment via telephone. Call 669-444-9171. Enter webinar ID 852-1400-5937, followed by passcode 090010.
Okay, thank you for that. If anybody has any comment in the south, if you could come to the podium and just state your name for the record.
First. Yeah, doesn't appear to be anyone in the south, Chair.
Okay, I'm not going to jinx it.
Yeah.
We'll go to the north. We welcome public comment, of course. We'll go up to the north. Is there anybody in the north for public comment? Don't have any up here in the north. What about on the telephone or online?
Provide public comment via Zoom. Click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen or dial *9 to raise your hand. There is no online comment.
My gosh.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item number 2, which is the meeting minutes. We have 2 items under that section. The first one is consideration of acceptance of the January 31st, 2024 solicitation of input meeting minutes. If everyone has had an opportunity to read the minutes, if you have any comments, concerns, we'll take those now. And if not, I'll take a motion for approval.
Member Merritt, I move to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Member Durrett, I second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll go on to agenda B, which is the consideration of approval of the February 15th, 2024 Cannabis Compliance Board meeting minutes. Any changes or concerns about the minutes? If not, then I'll take a motion for the approval.
This is Member
Merritt. Mazarana moves to approve.
Okay, we've got a first and it looks like a second. Member Merritt?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Motion carries. Perfect. Moving right along to item number 3 on the agenda. This is the consideration of approval for a conditional license for a cannabis consumption lounge. We have 2 items under that agenda section, starting with agenda item A, which is the Standard Lounge LLC for possible action. Mr. Staley.
Chair Guzman Freilich, Vice Chair Durrett, Justice Douglas, Member Merritt, and Dr. Mazarana. For the record, I am David Staley, Division Chief of Investigations for the CCB. I'm here to present agenda item number 3, which consists of 2 requests for approval of a conditional license for a cannabis consumption lounge. If this board approves a conditional licensure, the applicant will still need to complete necessary local approvals and a final inspection by the CCB's Inspection and Audit Division before it can open for business. Item A is a request for approval from the Standard Lounge LLC for an independent consumption lounge in an unincorporated Clark County under application number ACON A22000064. Standard Lounge has submitted all information required to move to a conditional license status and plans to operate their consumption lounge as a bar-type environment. No areas of concern were identified with this application. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Arslan Kazi and Bryce Page are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman-Freilich, I'll turn this item back to you.
Thank you very much. Please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Arslan Kazi, good morning. How are you guys?
Good morning. Good morning. Fine, thank you. Do you have affirmative presentations or any concerns that you might have or questions before we bring it back to the board for our questions?
We don't have any questions or concerns. We do have a presentation for you guys. Good morning. And
Good
thanks
morning.
for taking the time to hear us out and take a look at what we have to offer. And we'd also love to take time right now to thank Michael Covington, the inspector that helped us through the process. And honestly, he was tremendous, and he's a great person, and he deserves to be recognized. And so with that, I will let my
Thank you.
colleagues introduce themselves, and then they will show you the presentation. Step aside.
Morning, members of the board. My name is Harris Khan. For the record, I'm CFO of the Shanghai Lounge. And I'd like to echo Mr. Kazi's comments regarding Mr.
Carter,
Khan.
there's a lot of papers being moved around in a microphone, and it's hard to hear.
And so I would like to thank Mr. Covington as well. He was a tremendous help in answering all of our questions went through this process.
Good morning. My name is Bryce Page, COO of the Standard Lounge LLC. I won't take up much of your time, but thank you, members, for this time this morning. And with that, we do have a presentation. Pull up that first slide.
We do have that first slide up here in the north.
Let's go through some of this stuff. So the Standard Lounge aims to elevate cannabis consumption in Las Vegas by emphasizing diversity, inclusivity, and education. We will be situated near the Strip, where we will offer an immersive experience with music, interactive features, and premium cannabis products. Next slide. Hopefully we can get it up here for you guys. At the Standard, we will bridge the gap between locals and tourists. We aim to offer an elevated and secure cannabis experience. Our commitment to safety ensures a welcoming environment for all. Through strong partnerships within the local community, we foster a collaborative and positive atmosphere. Welcome to the Standard, where excellence will meet community. Now, our next slide, and I wanted to show you guys this, is about our location. Our location we aim to right now is 5611 South Valley View Boulevard here in Las Vegas. That has been one of the challenges as being an independent license holder prospect is getting the location within the zoning requirements. But this was integral for us. Being situated near Allegiant Stadium as well as the Strip, we will comply with all the necessary zoning requirements for Clark County and Las Vegas. Our location is being built to suit with new construction to take place at this site. At this time, we anticipate our footprint to be between 5,000 to 10,000 square feet built out in stages. We will dial this in as we enter deeper into the design and build out with our landlord. Our hours of operation will be 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to begin with. The next slide, and we'll just keep going. This next slide was just some concept art to provide just an idea of the experience that we want to have. It'll not only be an interior lounge, but it'll also have a rooftop lounge atmosphere, again, complying with all the necessary zoning requirements. Next slide, please. I want to speak to some of our operations. The Standard Lounge will cater to a broad customer base by offering a wide-ranging experiences, VIP rooms, and special events. Through robust partnerships in the local cannabis community, we will ensure a welcoming atmosphere where entertainment meets collaboration and compliance. We provide a diverse mix of cannabis products sourced from local brands and dispensaries, offering something for any consumer. Our offerings will include cannabis-infused mocktails, various strains of loose flower for consumption, pre-rolls, and dabbable concentrates. We will prioritize customer satisfaction and education. We'll also offer various consumption devices for use, and they will always be thoroughly sanitized and inspected for damage before and after each use. Additionally, for our patrons coming, we will have parking available, and we will prioritize ride-share capabilities for our patrons after use. Compliance is very important to us. Excuse me. We will prioritize compliance to ensure a clean and safe environment for our patrons. Our security protocols will include on-site security on-site, strict ID checks and age verification, a robust video surveillance system, access control measures. We will adhere strictly to state and local regulations regarding cannabis consumption and disposal. Compliance and safety are the core values that guide our operations here at the Standard. We're committed to maintaining the highest standard. To that end, we will engage an independent external compliance team for third-party audits and compliance. The Standard Lounge is dedicated to fostering diversity across all levels of the organization. To achieve this, the Standard will implement a multifaceted approach that includes the following strategies. We will actively engage in targeted outreach efforts. We will leverage professional networks here in the local community, and we will collaborate with local nonprofit organizations. Implementing these strategies will create a diverse and inclusive workforce that reflects the rich tapestry of the Las Vegas community. This commitment to diversity will not only foster a more innovative and collaborative environment within the company, but also contribute to the overall growth and development of the Nevada cannabis industry. The timeline that we anticipate operations commence will be within 10 to 12 months of this proposed conditional license that we hope to get today. This is also pending any unforeseen complications with county permitting or inspections or construction delays that can sometimes go on here in Las Vegas. With that, sorry that we didn't have the presentation that you guys could see on this end, but we thank you for your time, and my colleague is here to help answer the questions that you guys might have.
Member Douglas, for the record, two short questions. The first is, you said you're on Valley View and trying to, what's the nearest major cross street if you know off the top?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
We'd have a map for you in our design. You would just see exactly where we were, and it would be so easy for you to understand. We apologize.
Are you closer to Flamingo or Trop, or do you, if you have any idea?
I could tell you specifically fast.
Maybe the people in the north would let us know.
With our traffic, they can probably get there faster.
Yeah, you know where it is. I do know David Copperfield's across the road from us. He's got his facility there, and he does all his magic.
So we're closer to Russell and Russell. Russell's the closest cross street.
Thank you. The other question was, I know we've had discussions back and forth about issues as to air handling. I know that's a county area, at least I presume it's a county area the way things are changing. Any problems with the county in terms of what you're proposing for air or?
As of right now, Honorary Sir Douglas, no, not
I'm
at
sorry,
all.
who's speaking?
I'm sorry, I'm Arslan Kazi. I'm the owner and CEO. So as of right now, not that we're aware of, we're going to be very early within development, right? Like at this point, we're really working with the architect to kind of finalize things and then get it over to the city. But the nice thing for us is we do have a second-story patio, and it's like kind of a rooftop patio, right? With like views of the strip with Allegiant. And so we've got some flexibility here to be able to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I asked the question only not that we have some basic standards. They were revised to facilitate openings. I know that Clark County is kind of fussy, so that's why I was asking if you had any problems.
Not that we know of yet. I mean, once we get into the weeds of it more with the building being built out, we're like I said, we still have to undergo the construction. And so we'll get deeper into that.
And we would comply with whatever the county's regulations are. So if they say that's not available to us, then we will not incorporate that way, and we'll just change up the design.
Like I said, we've got pivot points.
Well, I appreciate your video presentation, even though I've not seen it in the South, and I wish you luck from my standpoint.
Thank you.
A couple questions. Member Durrett, for the record. How long do you think until you're able to open? Do you think there's any, I mean, is build out even started or a year from
That's
now?
not started, but in speaking with our landlord, he's very anxious to get things going. So according to his timeline, he told us it'd be about 10 to 12 months. We hope, and we're fingers crossed, optimistic, could be by the end of the year. Of course, as we kind of move down the process, but we wanted to give that caveat is if there are any sort of construction delays or permitting delays, then that could adjust the timeline slightly.
And how many people do you project it'll employ?
Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure today. It will be kind of as we roll out and phase out, we'll try to see, but I could see probably to start maybe like 10 initially. But with it being 24 hours, it likely could be more than that, as you work through shifts and things like that.
And I would love to add to that. I would also say that it really also depends on exactly the finality of the square footage that we referenced, right? If it's 10,000 square feet, I mean, you gotta add way more people to that, right? But if it's 5,000 square feet, then that's a very different ball game in terms of operations, right? So like Horace said, we're really looking to make sure that we do this properly and create an environment and a safe space for people to come and to get educated about cannabis and to be able to enjoy it and to be able to learn about it and to be able to have the taboo go away, right? And so whatever that number takes, that's what we're gonna do. He's saying 10, but really it's probably gonna be closer to like 30 to start. And I'm sure you guys probably understand that too, right? With security, with this, with that, with everything else.
And we didn't really get from the presentation, what is the overall concept? Like, it sounds like it's not really a nightclub. Is it like a lounge?
Yeah, it's a lounge and it's gonna be catered toward entertainment. And I mean, you're kind of talking comedy, you're talking DJs, you're talking kind of things along that line, right? Not like everybody else, kind of a little bit different slants. And there's more that we would love to share with you and we can about it off record, if that's okay with it, you?
Just for competitive.
Yeah.
And then there's just some sensitive conversations that we're having with certain parties, right? And if we were able to tell you, it would make you really understand where we're coming from on that and you would kind of understand. So we've been obviously chasing brand cachet, right? To make sure that this has like strong value, not just for us as operators, but for the actual city of Las Vegas and the county of Clark County.
Excuse me. So we have open mics. I know we're in a new environment, so it's hard to get used to all the idiosyncrasies of this place. But we do have, this is Chair Guzman Freilich, we do have open mics so we can hear any side conversations going on. And then also if we could just remind everybody before you speak to just state your name for the record. We have our court reporter that's virtual. It's hard for her sometimes to be able to pick up on who's speaking. So with that, sorry for the interruption. Member Durrett, were you still?
Oh, no, that was it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And any additional questions? I have just one quick question with regard to the finances. And I understand that, Mr. Causey, you have a Wyoming-based online seller of Delta variant THC products. And there has just been a decision that's come down. Does that affect you at all with regard to this court decision on the Delta products? And is that going to hinder any of your plans?
So to answer your question, we have actually shut that entire business down, and we basically did a while ago. So we stopped production, we stopped sales, and it's essentially just funked for us. And no, to answer your question, it has no bearing or impact. If anything, it's fantastic that it's gone. It was a blood-sucking enterprise that I got into, and I'm happy to see it go.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions from the board members? Okay, then we'll bring it back to the board for discussion and deliberation. Any discussion, any motion anyone wants to make?
Member Drat, I'll move to approve the conditional license for the standard lounge under agenda item 3A.
Member Douglas, I'll second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
And I appreciate your comments about staff. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to item number B for the consumption lounge. This is Shanghai Lounge LLC. Mr. Staley.
Chair Guzman, Freilich, members of the board, for the record, I'm David Staley, Chief of Investigations. Item B is a request for approval from Shanghai Lounge LLC for an independent consumption lounge in Las Vegas under application number ACON 22-00028. Shanghai Lounge has submitted all information required to move to a conditional license status and plans to operate as a premier nighttime venue for locals and tourists with an Asian and old school Las Vegas theme. No areas of concern were identified with this application. I'm available for any questions, and my understanding is that Maggie McCleskey, Joseph Weintaub, and Hung Yoon Eichmeyer are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman Freilich, I'll turn this item back to you.
Great, thank you. Do we have an affirmative presentation? Oh, and I see that we've got a deck here online. At least we have it in the north.
There we go. All right.
If you could introduce yourself for the record.
Okay, so for the record, my name is Dr. Joseph Weintraub. I'm owner of Shanghai Lounge LLC. So good morning.
Good morning.
Esteemed members of the Cannabis Compliance Board of Nevada. I'm deeply honored to be here before you today as proprietor of Shanghai Lounge LLC, a prospective cannabis consumption lounge that aims to redefine the landscape of cannabis hospitality in Nevada. I'm incredibly grateful for this opportunity to present our vision and demonstrate our commitment to compliance and responsible business practices. First and foremost, I want to emphasize our unwavering dedication to upholding the highest standards of regulatory compliance. We understand the importance of adhering to all state and local laws governing the cannabis industry. We have taken meticulous care to ensure that Shanghai Lounge will always operate within these parameters, from age verification protocols, smoke/odor mitigation plans, detailed security measures, and purchasing cannabis, which has been properly laboratory tested. We have implemented comprehensive measures to safeguard public safety and promote responsible consumption. Moreover, Shanghai Lounge is not merely a business venture. It's a testament to our passion for fostering a vibrant and inclusive cannabis community. Our establishment will serve as a welcoming haven for patrons who can gather to enjoy premium cannabis products in a safe and convivial atmosphere. Whether it's engaging in thoughtful conversation, exploring new strains, or simply unwinding after a long day, Shanghai Lounge seeks to provide an unparalleled experience that celebrates a diverse cultural tapestry of Las Vegas. Furthermore, we recognize the immense privilege and responsibility that comes with operating in the cannabis industry. As such, we are committed to prioritizing social equity and community engagement initiatives that empower marginalized individuals and promote economic opportunity for all. From partnering with local artists to supporting minority-owned businesses, Shanghai Lounge will serve as a beacon of progress and inclusivity in the burgeoning cannabis landscape of Nevada. That's my introduction. Go to the next slide. So just a little bit about my background. I'm born and raised in Las Vegas. I truly love Las Vegas from the bottom of my heart. My mother is from South Korea, so I'm of mixed races. My grandfather was actually a lounge manager in Vegas in the old school days, and he was obviously a member of the Rotary Club. Next slide, please. So just a little bit of my resume. So I graduated from UNLV School of SDM in 2018. So I've been working as a dentist full-time ever since. And yeah, that's just kind of where I've been at. I've kind of had a mixed kind of variety of different jobs throughout my career. Like I've worked in a pediatric office for 2 years. I've worked in a prison during COVID when everyone was getting laid off. So I did that for a whole year. And then now I'm an associate. Next slide, please. So this is kind of my concept. And I know everyone's kind of at this point trying to, come up with a concept. And I think a lot of these are just kind of ideas that people are having. And it's just when it actually comes to opening, I think there's going to be a lot of figuring things out. And, a lot of these just like, what's really going to happen? How is it going to really play out? And I think that's obviously an impossible question to answer at this point. So I certainly have plenty of ideas, right? Especially because it's been a year since, we've had the lottery. So just to kind of go over a few, so right now I was thinking, kind of harboring on this can of art concept. So what I would like to do is just, again, kind of like in that speech, is try to promote local artists, have like a sort of premium experience in Shanghai Lounge by, creating awesome visuals and just sort of different sort of stimuli in that sense. So this key features there, I know it's kind of hard to read because the text is so small, but that's kind of details like exactly what sort of how we can break that down. I think a lot of it's going to have basically collaborative art projects. We can have local artists, obviously display their work in the lounge. If they want a commission, we can talk about that as part of the sort of like a merchandise sales. We can do art kind of like a puff and paint sort of concept, right? Instead of like like the wine and paint sort of thing. We'll have local music, local artists, DJs, stuff like that. Next slide, please. Let's just kind of talking about how we're going to generate revenue, right? Which is with the cannabis sales and the merchandise sales, which kind of like the same things that I feel like a lot of, the previous licensees have been going over. It's just, again, it's just focused on cannabis, craft coffee, food items that are probably going to generate very little oil or fat during the preparation process. Okay, next slide, please. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about my journey through this whole process, which I find it very interesting because I feel like the biggest question I keep asking, or people keep asking me that I've met, I've met several, dispensary owners, just people that are involved in the community. Because in a sense, I feel like being a healthcare provider and then just kind of randomly winning this lottery, it's just like almost being thrown into it. So I've really took an initiative on myself to just try to meet as many people in the industry as I can and to gain a lot of knowledge and just educate myself. I think that's extremely important. But with that being said, the number one question people keep asking me is, you're a dentist? And I say, yeah. They're like, well, why do you want to do this? It's like over and over again. They're like, so it makes me really think exactly, when am I giving up, right? Because at some point, I'm working full time right now. And in all reality, to open a lounge and be the owner, I'm going to have to either work very, very limited part-time hours or just not be a dentist. So it's a tough decision that I have to make because personally, I have a very, very strong passion about what I do and the patients that I care for. So it's a big decision for me to walk away, and I have to ask myself, is it really worth it? And what are the motivations truly that would make me want to give up my career that I worked so hard for? And next slide. And that's because I truly love cannabis. Next slide. So just a little bit about why I love cannabis. One, I think it's a safer alternative to a lot of prescription medications, to alcohol consumption. I think it's, I've seen it help my cousin who was going through chemotherapy and kind of how it helped her mitigate the side effects from that treatment. So I'm a big proponent for cannabis. I really do find that even though I can never prescribe it to a patient, right? But I can certainly, and with that being said, I would never treat anybody high, or I would never expect any healthcare provider to be on cannabis, nor would I want any patient to be in the chair, under the influence of cannabis. It's for bad, a patient shouldn't be high either, just throwing out there. But for recreational purposes and for medicinal purposes, in a very responsible sense, I think it's very helpful. And I think it's a safer alternative to a lot of medications that are being prescribed, that are being smuggled across the border at this point. Next slide. All right, so this is my last slide, and I just kind of wanted to tip my hat towards how, as a dentist, as any healthcare provider, you take you do your jurisprudence sort of examination, and it's just basically a vow to being upholding the highest standard of ethics and ethical care. And I think I want to, and I see the same with you guys and your kind of meticulous effort to uphold those standards of ethics and safety for the public. So I just wanted to say that as Shanghai Lounge, we vow to be compliant and try our hardest to stay within compliance. That's it.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the board members?
Member Douglas, it says Las Vegas, which is a great big area.
Yes.
City, county.
It's in Clark County, unincorporated.
Do you have a specific location identified yet, or you're still working?
Yeah, so I'm still kind of negotiating. Like the previous gentleman said, it's been incredibly difficult, and I feel like even more so for an independent owner, right? It's from my perspective, it's really still pretty taboo, especially with like landlords. They really, for the most part, don't like cannabis. So it's really tough. And given with all the distancing requirements, and even when I find a location that meets all the requirements, the landlord's okay. At the end of the day, then they're like, well, it's a cash business, so we want to price gouge you. And then they're just raising the price for rent so high that when I look at my business model, it just doesn't make sense anymore, and it's hard to negotiate after that fact. So I've lost the location because of that, right? We've gotten all the way up to almost about signing to where we're going to sign the contract, but it was just didn't make sense from a business plan perspective, and I couldn't do it. So yeah, so basically, I mean, given the the theming that I was going with, I mean, I really wanted to be like somewhere kind of near Spring Mountain, Indicator, Jones kind of thing, being not the traditional sort of Chinatown that you might see in LA or San Francisco, but, Vegas has we have our own version of it too, right? So, and it's a bustling area. I actually grew up That's where I grew up, like right on Decatur and Flamingo there. So I'm very familiar with that area and how it's, changed and just incredible changes that I've seen. But yeah, we're in the works right now. I'm working with a couple different locations around that area at this point. Like I said, it's just a very long process, waiting for the landlords to get back and, stuff like that.
Do you have a square footage size that you're looking for?
Yeah, so I want to keep it smaller, right? I feel like at this point, since the concept isn't necessarily worked out, I think it's kind of a mistake to kind of shoot for the stars. So I want to stick around 2,000.
And I know it's hard to answer the question I'm about to ask, but you're looking to open roughly how many months after you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, but I would ideally want to open up in like late fall, early winter. I think it could happen because I want to try to keep the TI low. My whole my goal right now is to open a lounge that's going to be, with this, try to keep the TI low and the square footage, reasonable. I don't want to make such a huge investment into it. I have between me and my some family members, we have around $250,000, and I don't want to spend any more than that.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Member Mazzarana?
Go ahead, Doctor.
I'm curious if with your Canna Art concept, was there space in the art district? Because that would seem that it would be a good mix.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, the art district's actually located in the city of Las Vegas. So my license is in Clark County.
Understood. I thought there was some borderline areas there.
Sometimes there is, but I haven't seen anything available near that area. But personally, I don't really like that area because I feel like the parking's horrible. It's not, to me, it's not busy. It's only busy like one day out of the month. And I feel like it's kind of Spring Mountain in Decatur. It's just, there's so many restaurants. It's just, it's bustling all the time. It's not too far from the Strip, but I think at the same time, it has such a wide drive of just locals coming to that area. So that's really where I wanted to be. And I'm trying my hardest to open around there.
Okay. Any additional questions? Okay. Any additional comments before we move this to the board? Dr. Weintraub?
No comments.
Okay. With that, then we'll go ahead and bring it to the board for any discussion or prepare to take a motion for approval.
Member Douglas, I'd make a motion for approval of the conditional license.
Do we have a
Member Merritt,
second?
I will second.
Thank you. We have a first and we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations. And good luck to you finding a place. I hope you find it in the area that you want. I think that would be great. Okay. Moving on to item number 4. This is the request for transfers of interest. We've got 2 items. First is High Sierra Holistics LLC for possible action. Mr. Staley.
Chair Guzman, Freilich, members of the board, for the record, I'm David Staley, Division Chief of Investigations. I'm here to present agenda item number 4, which consists of 2 transfer of interest or TOI applications. Item A is a TOI application by High Sierra Holistics LLC. TOI number 2300017 was filed requesting approval for the transfer of 3% ownership between existing members. High Sierra is a vertically integrated cannabis licensee with cultivation and production facilities in Reno and a dispensary in Mound House. The transfer was approved through written consent to the company's managing members without prior CCB approval. The company promptly filed the appropriate TOI application, and staff explained that the transfer should have been pre-approved. The company has applied for a waiver of NCCR 5.110 to ensure that similar situations do not occur. High Sierra has also requested a waiver of NCCR 5.110 pursuant to 5.112. If approved, the requirements for prior board approval of transfers of less than 5% of High Sierra ownership will be waived. The company has adequately addressed the items required in NCCR 5.112 to allow the board to approve such waivers. Staff suggests that if approved, the board limit High Sierra's 5.110 waiver to expire on its next TOI agenda date. No areas of concern were developed during this investigation. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Ashley and Russell Ernst, Sean Gamble, and Judith Adams are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman-Freilich, I'll turn this item back to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And we've got members here for presentation. Okay. Would you like to come up here?
Sure.
Whoever's going to do their presentation, or you can switch off. It's fine.
Where do you want us at? City.
Yes, that would be good. Thank you.
Okay.
If you
Hi.
can,
Hi, my name is Russell Ernst. I'm a managing member of HSH, or High Sierra Holistics LLC. And we're just here. It was just a financial decision that the other members wanted to get out of part of their obligation to HSH. So I purchased it based on the 3%, based on the board approving it. So that's all I have to say.
thank you. Do we have any questions from the board? Okay, I just have a question with regard to that internal transfer. So the internal transfer happened, but it was a small transfer of interest, correct? And between the 3% between, from one board member, from one member to another member?
Correct.
Okay, and that happened when? Just recently, or?
Well, it happened, I think that it happened like I believe we've been working on this. Seemed like maybe September, or sometime back there.
Okay. Okay, and then you quickly let staff know about the. Perfect, I appreciate that. Any additional questions from board members? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion for approval?
Member Douglas, for the record, motion for approval of the transfer. Also with the waiver of NCCR 5.110 pursuant to NCCR 5.112. Note the pre-transfer, but it was minor and they have a history of compliance, so for approval.
Great, thank you so much. Is there a second?
Member Merritt, I would second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for being down here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, we'll go on to agenda item B. Mr. Staley.
Chair Guzman-Freilich, members of the board, for the record, I'm David Staley, Division Chief of Investigations. Item B is a TOI application for C21 Investments, Inc. TOI number 2300031 was filed requesting approval for C21 to purchase dispensary license number RD400 through its subsidiary Silver State Relief LLC from Deep Roots Harvest, Inc. C21 is a vertically integrated cannabis company, and the new dispensary in Reno will join its its dispensary operations in Sparks and Fernley. The company's cultivation and production licenses are operated in Sparks. No areas of concern were developed during this investigation. I'm available for any questions, and my understanding is that Daniel Gaducci and Aaron Swan are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman-Freilich, I will turn this item back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. And anybody, we have individuals here in the north as well.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you. Want to specifically thank Chief Staley and Investigator Dean on their work during this 2I, and we're happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Good morning and thank you. Any questions?
Can I get the name of who was
Oh,
speaking?
the name.
Daniel Judici for the record.
Okay. Do we have any questions or is there an affirmative presentation? No, but you're here for questions. Okay. Any questions from the board members?
Member Drett, I don't have any questions. I just want to say these are two really great, well-operating companies, and I like to see them continuing to thrive in Nevada. And I'm glad you're going away because I need you guys around to ask you questions. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as I understand this, Silver State is, let's see, it's basically buying one of Deep Roots dispensaries. Is that correct?
Daniel Judici for the record. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
The dispensary is located?
In Reno.
In Reno. Okay. And what else? And upon approval, how do you anticipate that happening? What's the timeline like? And is there going to be any change in personnel?
So the timeline will, we'll do the City of Reno process, which we believe is about a 4-week process, according to the city. As far as staff, all the staff that's there will be interviewed, and then C21 will make the decision whether they'll reemploy the staff or not.
Okay, all right. You anticipate that it's going to be the same amount of people, or is there a reduction in workforce?
For the record, Aaron Swan, no, we anticipate probably at least doubling the staff over time.
Okay.
Clearly, those decisions will be made based on volume and success. But if I had to guess, a significant increase in personnel.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions? I know we have individuals in the South. Can you please state your name for the record?
Good morning, Chair, members of the board.
Good morning.
My name is Lori Rogish. On behalf of Deep Roots Harvest Inc., with me today is John Marshall, Chief Operating Officer and an owner of Deep Roots Harvest. And we are available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of any of the presenters? Okay, if there are no questions of board members, then we can bring it back to the board for deliberation. Thank you for being here today, by the way. Okay. Do we have a motion for approval?
Member Drett, I move to approve agenda item 5A. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's not 5A. 4B, the transfer of interest between C21 Investments and Deep Roots Harvest. Is there a way?
No.
Dave, is there? No, okay, that's it. That's the motion.
Member Douglas, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Okay, I think we pretty much lost our entire audience up here. So We'll move on then to item V on the agenda, which is consideration of license agreements. We have 3 items, starting with item A.
Chair Guzman, Freilich, members of the board, for the record, I'm David Staley, Division Chief of Investigations. I'm here to present agenda item number 5, which consists of 3 management services or MSA, lease, and licensing agreements. Item A is a lease agreement between TGNV LLC and Truckee Canyon PM LLC. This lease agreement contains a profit-sharing component which is triggered by TGNV reaching certain net sales targets. CCB staff have reviewed the agreement and found the relationship between the parties appropriate. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Amanda Connor and Zachary Kozak are present today to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman Freilich, I will turn this item back to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Amanda Connor with the law firm of Connor & Connor, and Zachary Kozak, one of the owners of TGNV LLC, is available via Zoom. We kindly request approval of this lease and are available for any questions.
Chair, this is David Staley again. Just a quick note that TGNV recently reorganized from TGNV LLC to TGNV Inc. So I misspoke that this should be a lease agreement between TGNV Inc. I believe that's correct, Ms. Connor?
One clarification, TGNV LLC, the license holder, is still a limited liability company. It's the parent company, Tetra Gardens, that did a statutory conversion. So Tetra Gardens is now Tetra Gardens Inc.
Okay.
But yes,
Sorry,
and this.
thank you.
No problem. The TGNV was in front of you guys, or the board at the last meeting for a transfer of interest. Chief Staley did mention that the lease would be coming back to you, and that's what we are here for today.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions or need any clarifications on the lease?
The only question, this is up in the Reno area?
Amanda Connor, for the record, yes, Justice Douglas, this is located up in the Reno area. It's actually in Washoe County, unincorporated Washoe County, but in
Is the geography up there, is it the south or is the east or what kind of roughly, if you know? And if you don't, that's okay.
Justice Douglas, you're really testing my boundaries of directions. I believe it's south part of Reno. Actually, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's accurate.
It wasn't a trick question.
My husband can tell you I don't do north, south, east, and west.
All right.
Any board members have any questions at all with regard to the transaction that's before us? Okay.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion for approval.
Great. Is there a second?
Member Merritt, I will second.
Perfect. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was there any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Then we're going on to item number B, which is the Source Holding LLC and Green Mountain Holdings LLC.
Chair Guzman, members of the board, for the record, I'm David Staley. Item B is a licensing agreement between the Source Holding LLC and Green Mountain Holdings LLC. The licensing agreement provides for Green Mountain to receive a percentage of revenue from the sale of the products that it is licensing to the source. CCB staff have reviewed the agreement and found the relationship between the parties appropriate. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Jacques Santucci and Levon Voskarisian are present today to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman-Freilich, I'll turn this item back to you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions of either counsel or her client with regard to the transactions? I know this has a little bit more moving pieces than the last one that we heard, but any questions to be asked, this would be the time.
Member Douglas, for the record, my underlying question is this particular product that's coming into play is the actual, I know they're going to put people in, do the manufacturing on site and so on. They'll have their agent cards, but kind of the ownership, are they local? Are they out of state people? Just out of curiosity.
Amanda Connor, for the record, on behalf of the Source Holdings, Green Mountain Holdings LLC is a company that I believe is mainly out of state owners. They could speak and clarify that, but it is a brand that has been developed in other states, and they're looking to bring or work with the Source to have that product available in Nevada.
Yeah, the transaction's interesting. I was just curious because, again, we have ownership in this relationship, and I'm looking to see who they are, roughly who they are, whether they're a legal entity in another jurisdiction with no problems. So they're not getting their toe in the door, so to speak. That's why the question of what we know about them.
Again, Amanda Connor, for the record, I believe, and Jessica Nelson with the Source is here as well, but I believe this product, their products have been in the Nevada market before. They worked with a prior licensee, so they're just looking to work with a different licensee through this licensing agreement.
Yeah, I mean, that, I appreciate that. Still doesn't get to my underlying question as to kind of who they are and where they're from. But
yeah, I believe, and Amber is the individual from Green Mountain on. Have the receiver, just the receiver. Okay. I can't tell you a lot. I don't represent Green Mountain, Justice Douglas, so I
fair enough.
Okay.
Member Durrett, I have a question. What's the status of the Source's receivership?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question, please? You cut out.
Yeah, Member Durrett, for the record, what's the status of the Source's receivership?
Amanda Connor, for the record, the receiver is here, and could answer further questions, but they are in the process of the receivership. There is one TOI that has been submitted to the CCB for one of their licenses, and the receiver is working through options and working through that process.
How many licenses are included in it? Do you remember roughly?
In the TOI that's
in the receivership action?
I believe the Source has approximately 10 different establishments.
Seven? I think 7 or 8.
Okay, I believe it's about 10.
Yeah, it has to be at least 10. Member Durrett, with the follow-up question, so 1 out of the 10 is in the process of being transferred?
Amanda Connor, for the record, yes. Currently, there is a transfer for one of their licenses pending with the CCP. And like I said, the receivership has been more, but there are, the receivership is exploring opportunities or what to do with those licenses. Business is continuing. As you can see, we're here today for a licensing agreement for production. So the receiver is continuing business operations, but exploring opportunities as well.
Who's the main operator right now? Do they have a management company in place?
Amanda Connor, for the record, no, the receiver is overseeing the operations, and they continued with the operations as they were. I don't know if the board recalls, but this one, it was a unique situation for receivership as to why it came to receivership. So the operational team was still in place with all the employees, and so it continued in that way.
Thanks. Okay, thank you. I have a question for the receiver. How is this case progressing? Correction, is there a second?
Member Merritt, I move to I second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and we're on to agenda item C, the Empire Company LLC and Qualcan LLC for a management services agreement. Mr. Staley.
Chair Guzman, Freilich, members of the board, for the record, I'm David Staley. Item C is an MSA between the Empire Company LLC and Qualcan LLC. Empire is currently in receivership and its licenses have been suspended for various regulatory violations. The MSA provides for Qualcan to provide services for all components of Empire operations with the goal of making Empire fully compliant and back in operations. A TOI is expected to be followed in the future, providing for Qualcan to purchase Empire's cultivation and production licenses. CCB staff have reviewed the agreement and found the relationship between the parties appropriate. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Jared Kahn, John Savage, Kevin Singer, and Michael Cristali are present today to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman Freilich, I'll turn this item back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you and welcome. I know this is a complex, appears to me, transaction, and we've all had an opportunity to review all of the documents and may have some questions for you. Do you have an affirmative presentation?
Good morning.
Morning.
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Savage on behalf of Kevin Singer, the court-appointed receiver over the Empire Company. Singer is also present here today. Just like to give a little bit of background on receiver's appointment and actions.
I'm sorry, Mr. Savage, can you kind of stay still when you're moving around? You're cutting out.
My apologies. When the receiver was appointed, the Empire Company was already in a summary suspension and non-operational due to some pre-receivership regulatory violations. And the receiver's appointment took effect in November and has been working with the company's regulatory counsel and the board to try to meet the conditions necessary to get the company out of summary suspension status. And for the last 4 months has been submitting plans of corrections, supplemental plans of corrections, trying to address everything that's needed. But due to some limitations on company resources, there was no cash on hand when the receiver was appointed, no bank account, really no money anywhere, and limitations on personnel. The receiver was not able to meet any of the conditions necessary to lift the summary suspension. There really are the three main conditions right now, as we understand it, to get out of summary suspension are to get the CCTV camera access for the facility. And the problem there has been that the vendor who installed the camera system is owed over $100,000. I think it's upwards of close to $180,000. There's also a repair issue with the back gate that has a temporary fix right now, and destruction of inventory that is not safe for public consumption. And right now, the receivership just does not have any money to undertake these actions necessary to get this company out of summary suspension. And this management agreement was the first opportunity that came about to resolve these issues, and is currently the only opportunity available to the receivership. And it is related to an asset purchase agreement that we filed for approval with the court. That's also subject to CCD approval. We have a hearing set on April 22nd for approval with the court of the asset purchase agreement. I think today that those are separate issues, and I think that there will be some briefing and opposition on the sale procedure and bidding procedures. But for today, on this management agreement, it's really the company's only opportunity to get operational again and resolve the current deficiencies.
Member Douglas, for the record, just your presentation. We received a letter from a David Baker, I guess prior manager, complaining about what's going on. Any comment as to that?
Yes, Member Douglas. I believe Mr. Baker is here today, and he was the prior manager. And yeah, I'm not going to say individually responsible, but was the manager responsible for pre-receivership conduct that brought the company into this summary suspension status. And we've been working as closely as we can with him to find solutions and to these problems. And we were not presented with any viable solutions prior to this management agreement and a potential sale of the assets.
And I take it that his concerns, good, bad, don't know, would be aired in this upcoming hearing or other things the court would look at.
That would be my expectation, yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board. Michael Cristalli on behalf of licensing Qualcan on the management service agreement. Just kind of want to give the board an overall summary of Qualcan's involvement in this transaction. Qualcan was licensed 2014, originally in cultivation and production, subsequently obtained several retail licenses as well, and a lounge license pending also. In terms of the management service agreement, the Qualcan also has the APA, which is anticipated that with the court approval, there will be an acquisition of the property as well. However, in the interim, it is imperative that a management service agreement get approved for that location as a result of the disrepair that operation is in currently. Staff from Qualcan, the licensee, had an opportunity to visit the property, and there is significant amount of work that needs to be done in order to, number one, get the property compliant, and number two, be able to prepare the operation to the point where you could maintain a harvest this year. If you're not able to get in there almost immediately, like within the next few days in terms of beginning to clean up that property, you will lose that harvest. And not only will the MSA be void in all likelihood, but probably the asset purchase agreement as well. It's all contingent on Qualcan, the licensing, being able to get the MSA approved, being able to get their staff to the location to make the necessary repairs and clean up, and to be able to preserve this coming year's harvest, because it is essentially an outside grow, greenhouse grow. And so it's imperative that the operator get up there and take the necessary actions to preserve that. The difficulty we're in at this point is it's a little bit of a catch-22, because staff for Qualcan is unable to get onto property to make those repairs without the approval of the MSA, number one. But even subsequent to that, there has to be a plan of correction approved, lift the summary suspension in order to be able to work towards the upcoming harvest. So as Mr. Savage has indicated, the primary focus is, which the licensee has already done, get up there, identify the issues, one of which is the camera issues. They've already done that, and they're prepared to send staff there to make the corrections as it relates to the cameras, There's some repair on the gates. You have to destroy at least the plants in the greenhouse and then continue to contain the product that is still under suspension by the CCB, which we're prepared to do that as well.
Mr. Costello? Chair Guzman-Freilich, I just want to clarify because I know in his letter, Mr. Baker speaks about the product and about there being no viable plants. Can you clarify? Because it sounds to me from what you're saying is that there is some viability and you just need to get in there and basically save those remaining assets. So if I could just get some clarification, because it sounds to me like I'm getting two different stories here.
From Qualcan's standpoint, you have to get up there and destroy the plants that are in the greenhouse, fumigate the greenhouses. The remaining product is finished product that are in Connex containers that have been secured by the CCB pending an investigation and potential release of that product. And there's also product that is also contained in the production facility that is locked pending a determination by the CCB. But from the licensee's perspective, you got to get in there to fumigate the greenhouses and to be able to plant your clones in order to salvage a harvest for this year.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think, so that's why I think the MSA is so pivotal. Not only that, it allows a licensee to get onto the property to maintain the continued use and operation of the cultivation and production facility, take the necessary steps to get into compliance with the CCB and preserve the harvest. But in addition to that, it is also pivotal because it will determine whether or not the asset purchase agreement is viable come whenever hearing it is, and John can speak to that, but a determination by the court to approve the asset purchase agreement. So they are contingent upon one another for all practical purposes. And that's why timing is of crucial importance.
Member Durrett, I have a couple of questions. So how is Mr. Baker managing it if he's at odds with the receiver? Wouldn't the receiver replace the manager? Is he involved on paper or is he there managing it?
Mr. Baker is not there managing it. He has not been involved in operations since the receiver was appointed. During the summary suspension, I believe we have a limited number of people who are approved to be on site, and Mr. Baker is not involved in current operations.
Okay, that makes sense. And so he'll just be a creditor?
I suppose in a certain respect, potentially.
Okay. And then the asset purchase agreement appears to not include the production license. Is it just the cultivation license?
We did submit an addendum to that to clarify both the cultivation and production license are included.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And I'm not sure who can speak to this, Mr. Savage or Mr. Singer, with regard to the bidding process. I know Mr. Baker also complains about the bidding process because as he sees it, that this deal is basically circumventing the bidding process, or it definitely makes the bidding process a little bit higher in order to pay off the money that would have been paid to Qualcan. But I also understand that this is the most viable option that you have received. And in order to go forward and to salvage the company, you basically need Qualcan. So if you could speak a little bit to that, just clarify how that's going to affect the bidding process, or whether attempts to circumvent the bidding process. Can you speak to that a little bit? Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Board Member, this is Kevin Singer, the court-appointed receiver. I mean, there's two pieces to this court-appointed receivership. One, we have a secured creditor who's owed a tremendous amount of money. And then there's many other creditors behind that who are also owed money, which is the camera vendor. And the second part of the case is the compliance with the Nevada cannabis compliance regulations. So we need to take care of both those in the receivership estate. And at some point, we will get to the court and there will be a court confirmation overbid hearing. And the goal is to take care of all the creditors of the company. So that's what usually takes place. I think it's in Mr. Baker's best interest to raise as much money as possible to try to pay all the creditors that come forward.
And just from the licensee Qualcan's perspective, on that point, the concern that we have pursuant to the agreements is that if a third party comes in and acquires the asset, there's a potential for the MSA to terminate. If that's the case, then all the money that the licensee Qualcan will invest to get the operation, to get the establishment up and operational and compliant, which is going to cost quite a bit of money to do that, as well as personnel allocation. The management company, the licensee Qualcan, needs to get at the very least reimbursed for those costs to get the property in the condition it needs to be in to be operational and compliant. And so I think that the argument that there's a unfair overbid is misplaced because it doesn't take into account that that's the actual cost. It's not as there's no windfall here for the management. There's no windfall for the licensee manager in this case. They will get their money back if they are no longer the manager, but they should because they've improved the property and got it compliant and operational.
And Madam Chair, going back to your question about the bidding procedures and Member Douglas' question about the court hearing and some oppositions we might be facing. Again, the bidding procedures will be subject to court approval and any distributions of proceeds, whether to reimburse the manager or otherwise, would also be subject to court approval. The receiver is not taking any of this action independently outside of court oversight and approval. And so there will be some due process for all parties to be heard and for the court to rule on any objections on those bidding procedures or the distributions of the proceeds.
Thank you. I don't have any additional questions. Are there any other questions from the board members?
I'm David Baker. You guys want to ask me any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Baker or any of the presenters today? If not, is there a motion?
Member Douglas, for the record, I'll make a motion for approval of this MSA. Understanding that this board is not getting into the weeds totally of what's going to go on before the court. They're in a better position to walk through this and hopefully do what's fair to all parties. Understand the complexity, but my motion's for approval.
Is there a second?
Member Durrett, I second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion on the motion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck and have a lot of work ahead of you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board. Executive Director, thank you.
That brings us to item number 6 on the agenda. This is the consideration of application for appointment of a cannabis receiver over MJ Holdings, Inc. pursuant to NCCR 5.175 subsection 1.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. I'm Senior Deputy Attorney General Allison Herr. I'll be presenting the receivership application for approval today under agenda item number 6. This is an application from Kevin Singer for a cannabis establishment agent registration card for a cannabis receiver over MJ Holdings. MJ Holdings has 4 cannabis establishment licenses for medical and adult use production and cultivation. 8th Judicial District Court Judge Maria Gall approved creditor Terrence Tierney's motion for appointment of a receiver. Judge Gall entered a judgment for $432,000 in Tierney's favor against MJ Holdings last September. Tierney then moved for a receiver after several unsuccessful attempts to collect on that judgment. Following 2 hearings that were held earlier this month, Judge Gall found that the company's assets were in danger of being lost, removed, or materially injured because of the company's non-compliance with legal and regulatory requirements. She also found that exigent circumstances existed which justified immediate intervention to protect MJ Holdings from irreparable injury. The judge has issued a temporary restraining order against the owners, officers, and employees of MJ Holdings and has appointed Kevin Singer as a temporary receiver over MJ Holdings, subject to the approval of this board. Judge Gall has has an additional hearing which is scheduled for March 29th, during which she will consider the expansion of the scope of the receivership and making it a permanent receivership. The licensee was noticed of these court hearings, and its point of contact and several of its owners and officers participated in one or both of those hearings before Judge Gall. The licensee was also served with a court order appointing the temporary receiver and separately noticed of today's proceedings by both CCC staff and the applicant. Mr. Singer's application has been provided in the board materials. He should be familiar to you, given the fact that he was just before you. The CCB staff has advised that he has completed all of his application requirements in ACELA. Thus, should the court be inclined to approve the application today, a temporary agent card could be issued to him immediately. Mr. Singer is present today along with his counsel, Mr. Savage. They can answer any questions as to his qualifications. I'm also available to answer any questions about the underlying litigation or about your ability to approve that application today.
Member Douglas, one question for you. You said this is for temporary. Does that mean if we appoint him for the temporary, he'd have to come back and make a request to continue?
I believe under NCCR 5.175, you have the ability to go ahead and appoint him generally as the receiver, subject to expansion of those duties should the court be inclined to do so on the 29th.
And that would have to be part of our motion then?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions then? Mr. Savage or Mr. Singer?
Good morning, John Savage, on behalf of Kevin Singer, the temporary receiver over MJ Holdings, Inc. Mr. Singer is also present here today. Just briefly, clarify that the current court order limits the receiver's authorization essentially to taking possession of books and records, reviewing those books and records, and reporting back to the receivership court for an evidentiary hearing that's going to be held on March 29th. The primary issue has been that members of the company have not been able to identify or provide documentation showing proper authorization and corporate governance. This is a publicly traded company, and there have been concerns raised by the creditor in the court about SEC compliance. And so the current order instructs the receiver to reach out to the parties, the interest who may have some of this information, prepare a report, submit it to the court prior to the evidentiary hearing on March 29th. And at that time, if it still appears that there will be a void of governance and authority, it seems that the court is inclined to extend this to a permanent receivership with the authority giving Mr. Singer the power to take possession of the assets, and which would include cannabis licenses for 2 of the subsidiaries of MJ Inc. And so today, we don't have an order just yet authorizing the receiver to take possession of those assets. But as Ms. Herr referenced NCCR 5.175, under the new regulations, typically would need a court order prior to coming to the board for approval on an agent card application, unless there's exigent circumstances that exist. And we do believe that those exist here. On sub 3 and sub 4 provides that any ownership disputes or other situations that prevent the business from operating in compliance with Nevada law. And then number 4 also says any other circumstances which could impair the health, safety, or welfare of the public. The board may consider and approve receiver's agent card, which would then be subject to the court extending that receivership order to a permanent receivership with power and authority to take possession of the assets on presumably March 29.
Member Douglas, for the record, is this a presently operating business?
My understanding is yes. The next matter on the board's agenda is related to this company as well, as I understand some conditions to a transfer, and there was supposed to be a compliance counsel, and I don't believe the company has current compliance counsel. So it is operating, and I apologize for not knowing all of the individuals' names just yet, but I believe Mr. Yang is present and has been involved in those operations.
Any additional questions with regard to this item? And I'm in agreement that exigent circumstances exist to be able to grant the agent card under the NCCR 5.175 subsection 1 under the numbers that you mentioned, which is 3 and 4, which talk about the welfare of the public. Any additional questions from the board members? Well, there's no doubt that Mr. Singer is qualified for his agent card with regard to receivership. And so with that, I'll take a motion for approval.
Motion for approval, temporary status with the understanding that should the court enlarge his powers, he'd be allowed to continue.
Okay, is there a second?
Member Merritt, I would second.
Okay, and this question is for council. Is that sufficient with regard to granting the receivership under exigent circumstances?
Yes, that's sufficient.
Great. Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there a discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, and the next item is related to same company, so we'll go right on to item number 7, and this is a status check on the conditional transfer of interest for MJ Distributing. MJ Distributing, we've got the 2 different licenses numbers, and MJ Holdings, Inc. Mr. Staley.
Chair Guzman Freilich, members of the board, for the record, I am David Staley, Division Chief of Investigations. I'm here to present agenda item number 7, which consists of a status check on the conditional transfer of interest agreement between the CCB and MJ Holdings, Inc. On August 22nd, 2023, you approved a TOI in which MJ Holdings purchased cultivation and production licenses in Pahrump. However, the investigative report identified 10 areas of concern regarding MJ Holdings operations. MJ Holdings Compliance Council negotiated an approval with conditions that was memorialized in the conditional agreement, which included 8 conditions that the company agreed to comply with. During early March, staff became aware that MJ Holdings had violated at least 5 conditions in the conditional agreement as follows. No status report was provided to the CCB as required, either initially or in conjunction with the SEC Form 10Q filed on November 14th, 2023. C-suite executives and directors have not been maintained as required, and changes were not reported to the board. The company does not have a CEO, a CFO, or chairman of the board of directors. Paris Baloris was involved in company operations until at least November of 2024, and Al Reasanover was also involved in company operations until at least early November 2024. And the company has not maintained compliance counsel. Compliance counsel withdrew its services on February 15th of 2024. I communicated these concerns to point of contact Robert Yang on March 18th of 2024, and enforcement staff personally served notice to Timothy Luff, Robert Yang, Benjamin Tran, and Gyong Ho that their appearance was required today to answer any questions you may have. With that, Chair Guzman-Freilich, I will turn this item back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Affirmative presentations. Any?
Robert Yang here, point of contact for MJ Holdings.
Benjamin Tran here.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Yes,
And is it?
Benjamin Tran.
Okay.
And can
I
you
just
spell your
can't.
name, please?
Yes, and I can't see you. So is there any way to have you move up? Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead, continue. Can you spell your name for the record, please?
Robert Yang, Y-A-N-G.
Thank you.
Benjamin Tran, BenJaWantran.
Okay, thank you very much. And can you tell me your positions with the company?
I'm the staff accountant and also known as the secretary.
Mr. Yang?
I'm the point of contact for MJ Holdings.
Okay.
Regards to the licenses.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
Member Douglas, for the record, yeah, the big question is what is going on?
Okay.
We have people appointed, people gone. We have a compliance person, they're gone. These were part of the terms to allow you to continue operation. What is going on presently? And I know we just had this other situation, but I'd like to know what's going on. Where's the money going and so on?
Okay, so MJ Holdings, Inc. is a publicly traded company, and the licensee is MJ Distributing. It's a private company. Now, MJ Holdings was in the TOI last August, and conditions were set on those licenses. I am not an employee of MJ Holdings. I am a creditor of MJ Holdings. My company is called MKC Development Group, and we gave MJ Holdings $620,000 back in 2021, January 2021. So I also work at Natural Green, who also gave MJ Holdings $520,000 back in, I want to say, March of 2021. And we've been working with MJ Holding, anticipating that operation can go out there, licensing issues and stuff like that. We were aware, I wasn't made aware that MJ Holding did not have a license until I watched a live stream back in August. That's when I did some more research. I heard Chief Staley say that they didn't even have a license when they entered into the MSA with the two companies I just stated. And all this time after I found out, the situation, we demanded a refund for our deposits And we worked out some kind of deal with MJ Holdings, never came to fruition. They had no money. Knowing their financial status, I've been working with MJ Holdings and the operators out there to try to keep the company afloat. Because my approach was not to go into court and sue as Mr. Tierney did, because there would be no money to pay back. So I was hoping the operation can make money and have the ability to pay us back. So that's what my position is. I've been point of contact because there's nobody in MJ Holding. And I am aware that if CCB tries to reach out, somebody's got to know that the CCB is trying to get answers from MJ Holding. I've been working with the inspectors, auditors, investigators, and I've been working with the lawyer, compliance counsel. As I stated to Chief Staley, there's emails that Mr. Hardy sent to us notifying that he would be withdrawing on February. But he asked questions, and I answered those questions on February 9th. I even spoke to him over the phone. On February 15, when he withdrew, he did not send out a notice to the company that he is withdrawing. He actually replied an email to Mr. Tierney saying that he no longer represents MJ Holding. So when Chief Staley asked me, who was a compliance counsel, I answered Brian Hardy. That's when he told me he spoke to Brian Hardy that same morning, and Brian Hardy told him he withdrew. All these evidence CCP has in their hands. Then we try to go out and look for a compliance counsel as a replacement. As you know, there's limited numbers of attorneys that specializes in cannabis. Every phone call I make, and we can speak to you next week, we can, then there's a conflict check. And, nobody's taking our case right now. Then we got a restraining order from the court, as Ms. Heard knows. I cannot even go out and represent a higher attorney because I'd be violating that restraining order. That's where we are today. As far as the SEC filings goes, I was told that we are current with our financials with the SEC. We haven't filed an 8K. I say we, I mean MJ Holdings. I don't really represent MJ Holdings. My understanding is that there was an employee that was filing the 8Ks, Chris Dubeck, and he never turned over the codes for anybody to take over that position or that role. And when they tried to catch up, you heard Jim Kelly say that he was filing the 8K. And I just spoke to Jim Kelly a few days ago. He couldn't get the code to file the 8K, but it was submitted. I think SEC sent them a temporary code, but it was the wrong code. They're still working on catching up to the 8K. So all the announcements of personnel changes, as far as the status report that Chief Staley stated, we had compliance counsel. I have emails and everything that shows that we told our compliance counsel these personnel changes. If they never filed a status report with the CCB, I'm not aware of it. But my position is to keep the CCB in compliance and keep the operation going, because that's the only way anybody's going to get any money back.
Member Dra, I have some questions, but don't want to interrupt.
Go ahead and ask your questions.
Well, actually, this is more of a comment. And I would like to see, depending on what our council says to how this would impact dealing with this situation and what Chief Staley says, this continued for Brian Hardy to appear. I don't think that it's appropriate to represent a licensee, get them this far, make representations as to what's happening, and then not show up to the following hearing. This isn't the judicial, 8th Judicial District, but you would certainly not be allowed to do that. You have to show up to the hearing and withdraw appropriately. And that necessarily wouldn't always be the case if it wasn't that this one council made a lot of representations, and in the minutes from August said we multiple times, like he was involved with the company, like he was going to help steward them. I don't think council necessarily needs to be on the hook forever when they're not getting paid. But we need the council who made many representations to this board to at least show up and to the follow-up hearing when it is so complex and their representation is needed. I don't expect them to continue to be compliance counsel to this company if they're not getting paid, but I do expect them to show up to the fallout of something that they had requested. So I'd like council to come and make representations as to what their point of view as to what happened. And so I do have one question. You said you informed council, and I'm sure it's in here somewhere, you informed council of updates on.
We also have confirmation back from the CCB that personnel changes were made.
Okay, I wanted to ask you that.
As the CEO,
okay.
We have Jiang Ho as the COO, and we have Juan Tran as the CFO. So the condition requires that at least 3 board members with those titles, we do have them.
Can I interrupt you and ask Chief Staley, are you aware of those?
This is David Staley for the record. There have been no formal notifications to us of any changes in officers and directors. We found out about those changes when I started conversations with Mr. Yang last week. And as you recall, that was also a concern mentioned by the receiver that was brought up in the receiver motion in court, in that there are no identified officers. That's as far as we're aware, Ms. Tran is the CFO, and that's the only individual we've been formally notified is in a C-suite position.
I'd like to answer to that.
Well, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Member, for the record, because if the rest of the board doesn't want to get into full-on discussion back and forth on things that maybe aren't appropriate for today, I don't know. I would defer to the chair on that. I would like to see some sort of hearing, like an order to show cause on why the settlement agreement terms should not be enforced. And I'd like to see Brian Hardy appear at that hearing and give us some continuity in what had occurred. But that's just my preference, and I would, of course, defer to the chair and the other board members.
Member Douglas, for the record, where are we with the receiver, and based on kind of what we're doing? I understand and I kind of agree with her, but I'd like a clarification as to where the court is and the receiver and whether we should do anything at this point. She's talking about show cause, wait till the next hearing. So kind of what is our status?
For the record, John Savage, counsel for temporary receiver Kevin Singer. A lot of these representations and questions and concerns were raised in the court hearing. And one of the receiver's primary tasks are to review documentation, see if there was proper authority given to make these appointments under the corporate governance. And so we do have that evidentiary hearing scheduled for March 29th. The receiver's report will be filed, I believe, 2 days or the day before that hearing. So we anticipate at least knowing the universe of documents that exist and the universe of authority for any appointments, and more specifically asked for a history going back 2 years to see the succession of leadership and how certain people came into authority or removed authority. So that's what the receiver's been tasked with, and the court is going to make findings of fact after that evidentiary hearing on March 29th.
Member Douglas, for the record, the board is walking a very small tightrope, so to speak. My colleague talked about bringing it back because clearly what we have right now, they're in violation of the agreement that was made. I understand with the receiver coming in, depending on what occurs on March 29th, part of this may be cleaned up and staff indicates there's no new violations that they were aware of with this group, even though they haven't met the conditions that were made prior. So it's a real quandary as to where we're at and what we should be doing, except looking at this really closely. So I'll defer.
Justice Douglas, my name is Mark Hutchings. I represent Terry Tierney and may have some information that might be helpful to the quandary that you're in.
Let me hold up, and if the chair wants that provided, I'll defer to the chair. And if so, we have you move up so our recorder could hear.
Thank you, Justice Douglas. I believe that the proper forum for all of this vetting rests with the district court, and I know that you have an evidentiary hearing coming up, so I'd much rather pay attention to that and see what is happening after all of the information has been gathered. I certainly appreciate the individuals that have shown up to explain, together with our investigators reporting to explain what has been happening. But considering that that Mr. Singer has been assigned and will be gathering all of the documents, I think that would be better for us to, as you said, Judge Douglas, pay close attention and make sure that we are following the actions taken at the court. So although I appreciate everyone wanting to put things on the record, I think at this point it's a little bit premature, and we just needed a status with regard to that transfer. And as we know now, there have been various violations. But with that, we'll just wait to see what the court decides at the end of the month. Are there any additional questions or concerns? But that's my position, is to basically, we got the status from staff and from the individuals that have shown up today. And we just need to collect all of the documentation and gather all the evidence for the court to decide what is to happen from here on out. Mr. Yang, I know you had your hand raised. Was there any additional?
I disagree with the violations because of what I explained happened. And, with the situation that we are in, we actually had a counsel representing the first hearing. She withdrew, and we didn't have anybody representing us. Because MJ Holdings is a corporation, we cannot do a pro se. We can't argue for ourselves. The court is not going to hear anything from us. Mr. Hutchins, they're just going to win.
Well, and there is an agreement that was.
There's also a restraining order from us for hiring an attorney.
Okay, well, there is an agreement with MJ Holdings that talks about any violations and what's to happen. There are preliminary things that have to happen before any violations are charged. So at this point, it's just our investigative reporting telling us what they have found. Whether or not there'll be charges, that's not before us right now. It is just an update on what has happened since the entering that agreement.
Okay, but we are in compliance with the personnel changes. CCB has actually sent out a questionnaire to Ms. Tran and Mr. Ho, questioning their bios and stuff like that. I have it right here from Maggie Adams. So CCB was notified of the personnel, who's in charge. And I'd like to point out that, MJ Holdings is a parent company. MJ Distributing P133 LLC, MJ Distributing C202 LLC are the actual license holders, and there's an operation going on. If we can divest ourselves from MJ Holding, which is what the shareholders also want, then we don't need to be involved with the stock market, SEC and stuff like that. And it would take a whole burden off MJ Distributing's operation, which will keep many jobs. And we have plans to expand the farm. We already submitted engineering and architectural drawings to the Nye County, and we already paid the fees. They're reviewing. Once we get that approved, we'll be building out, and there are investors and people who are interested in putting money so we can have we have a great business plan so that we can have a successful growth and be, helpful to pay back Mr. Tierney, MKC, myself, and create more jobs for the local community.
Madam Chair, I would make a suggestion, since it's not been called for at this point, to continue this 1 month to clarify what's going on, and so that the proper parties based on the court action are actually before us.
I think that's a great suggestion for staff to bring it back to the board in a month's time.
Member Direct, can I add a comment to that? Just so Mr. Yang and Ms. Tran are aware that in some ways this isn't going to be the right forum for you. Legal rights between the parties have to be determined by the courts. So we're not picking between owners, basically. We deal with the overall license. So that does have to be done through the court. And I just wanted to add the comment that I would appreciate if council thinks it's appropriate to notify Brian Hardy that he needs to appear at the next hearing, at least to properly inform us that he's no longer representing this party, and about disclosing any confidentialities, give us an update on breakdown in communication and stuff like that. If the chair is okay with that.
I'm fine with that, yes. But it would be good to just have another update in a month and to find out what occurred at the district court hearings.
I'd like to point out Mr. Jian Ho was here and he had something to do and he left. He did sign it. And I'd like to point out all the board members are not paid, the volunteers. Nobody's paid on MJ Holdings on the payroll because there's no money.
Okay.
Madam Chair, are you willing to accept a motion at this point?
Yes, and this is a motion for possible action, and so I'll take your motion.
Motion to continue this matter for 1 month as to the matter that's presently before us and the status check on what's going on after the court hearing.
Do we have a second?
Member Drat, I second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next we go to agenda number 8. Before we do that, I just want to check to make sure, is Member Mazzarana still on the phone? Okay, Dr. Mazzarana? All right, we'll just have the record reflect that Dr. Mazzarana is, I know she called in, so she might have some technical difficulties. Okay, so item number 8, have approvals and resolutions. Notice of final licensure, we've got 3. Thank you, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you, Chair and members of the board. Steve Gilbert for the record. Agenda item 8A is an informational item presented as a notice to the board of establishments that have been issued their final license since the last board meeting. Item number 1 is for International Service and Rebuilding Incorporated, which was awarded conditional medical cultivation C211 and production P141 licenses by the Department of Taxation on April 11th, 2018, in the city of Fernley. On November 8th, 2023, the CCB conducted a pre-opening inspection and audit of the facility. The inspection and audit results revealed the facility was in compliance with NCCR and NRS Statement of no deficiency was issued on February 1st, 2024, demonstrating ISR has met the regulatory operational requirements to become operational. As a result, CCB approved and issued final licensure to ISR for its adult use cultivation and production facility on February 29th, 2024. Item number 2 is for Cheyenne Medical, Sammy Davis, RD 263, LLC, CLA 002, which applied for and was granted a conditional adult use retail attached consumption lounge license in the Clark County jurisdiction after passing suitability by the board at its June 20th, 2023 meeting. On February 13th, 2024, the CCB conducted a pre-opening inspection and audit of the adult use retail attached consumption lounge facility. The inspection and audit results revealed the facility was in compliance with NCCR and NRS. The statement of no deficiency was issued on February 14th, 2024, indicating Cheyenne has met the regulatory operational requirements to become operational. As a result, the CCB approved and issued final licensure to Cheyenne for its adult use retail attached consumption lounge license on February 14th, 2024. Finally, item number 3 is for Wellness Connection of Nevada LLC, RD 633, which was awarded an adult use retail store license by the Department of Taxation on December 5th, 2018 in the city of Las Vegas. On February 20th, 2024, the CCB conducted a pre-opening inspection and audit of the facility. The inspection and audit results revealed the facility was in compliance with NCCR and NRS. A statement of no deficiency was issued on March 1st, 2024, demonstrating Wellness has met the regulatory operational requirements to be operational. As a result, the CCB approved and issued final licensure to Wellness for its adult use retail store facility on March 8th, 2024. Thank you, Chair, and I'll turn this item back over to you.
Thank you. Mr. Gilbert, I just have a question for you. So Cheyenne, is that the very first cannabis lounge that has opened up? It's been fully approved and it's opened up and now it's open for business?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And
that was the one that was announced at the last board in February.
Okay.
And this is just a final notice or the notice to the board that it has been issued.
Okay, great. They're open for business. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Mr. Gilbert? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much for those items. And now we will go on to item number 9. Item number 9, I believe Mr. Charles Anthony Irvin, is he in the south? Mr. Irving, or is it Irvin? Irvin, have you requested this be a closed meeting?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to ask everyone in the north and the south and online to please exit. We will come back from the closed meeting after we are done with Mr. Irving's hearing. I appreciate it, and we'll be back. Thank you so much. We'll be back for a vote. Thank you.
Yeah, actually. I believe we're ready for a motion, Chair. The room is open back up.
Okay, perfect. Then I will entertain a motion for item number 9 on Mr. Irvin's petition.
Member Durrett, I move to approve agenda item 9.
Is there a second?
Member Merritt.
Member Dr. Mazarana, second.
Okay, I have a first and a couple of seconds. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great, motion carries. Thank you very much, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Is he
board
gonna-
members.
I guess you got to get to work this afternoon.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Good luck.
Thank you. Take care. Okay. All right, so then that brings us to item 10. This is the briefing from the chair and the executive director. I'll let the executive director go first.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep these brief, but just wanted to provide a couple quick updates. Cannabis Advisory Commission met on February 23rd to discuss the report put together by the subcommittee on rescheduling and descheduling. At that meeting, the larger group reviewed, made a change to, and ratified the report, which was then transmitted to the legislature. Report can be found in its entirety on our website. They did an excellent job, so I also wanted to again thank the subcommittee for their work on this, and also commend the Advisory Commission for their discussion on the report and the unanimous yes vote after the changes. Another brief update, a week from today, next Thursday, March 28th, CCB will be holding a workshop on packaging and labeling at our offices. We are still accepting submissions of written public comment, and you can, of course, attend in person day of as well. As always, we appreciate the feedback from the community and the industry and welcome opportunities to fine tune our regulations. Lastly, in a sad but very positive note, I just wanted to personally thank Amber Verkler for her service to the CCB. She will be leaving us at the end of the month. She's served the state of Nevada well over a number of years and literally helped build this place. Truly would not be what it is today without her, and it won't be the same after she leaves. Cannot thank her enough. She literally made my transition to this role possible. So thank you, Amber, for your commitment to the state, more specifically to the CCB. Can't wait to see what the future holds for you. So thank you, Amber. With that, Chair, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much. And I'll just have a couple of comments and then we can turn it over to the rest of the board members because I'm sure they all have something to say about Amber, and we are going to miss you a lot. And I know that I heard, you've been going back and forth from California and Nevada and just, keeping us in line while your family missed you. And so I'm sure that that's a great relief, but you will be missed, sorely missed, and you will be a huge benefit to wherever you end up. And I'm sure it'll be somewhere great and you'll do some great things. But it's always sad to see somebody that we truly appreciate go. So I wish you all the luck in the world, and I understand you'll be here with us for another month, so we'll call up and bug you, and you'll be so happy that you're leaving. And then also, Mr. Hum, if I could, I just wonder if on some of these big items, which this one is on the Cannabis Advisory Commission, their report and recommendations on rescheduling, descheduling. I'm wondering if the chair of the commission might want to come to one of our board meetings and just kind of give us an overall briefing. Certainly, we can read the report for ourselves, but it would be nice to have the two bodies kind of, meet and kind of get their input. I did go online and watch some of their meetings, but it would be nice to have them, not report, but just come to us if they're willing to, at least the chair, and just let us know what they've been up to and present their report, because it's a great report and everybody should be aware of it. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. Just actually a brief comment on that. I actually am the chair of the commission. But
there you are.
What I would recommend is to bring the chair of the subcommittee up here, and then we can present that to the board. Yes, of the subcommittee, and we can present that together.
But if you want to come up and do a presentation, that'd be great too.
I would be happy to do that at the next meeting if that's okay.
Yes, no, I think that would be great to just have just kind of a general description of what occurred and what the recommendations are. Like I said, we can all read them for ourselves and they're online. Thank you very much for putting that up there. It's always good to have just kind of a summary of what was determined. With that, let's see. The board members, any comments that you might have? I know you all want to say goodbye to Amber and wish her luck.
Member Durrett, Amber is the best, and I hope nobody follows her. But I'm looking forward to where she's going, so congratulations.
Member Douglas, for the record, I agree with what's been said. Amber always has gone above and beyond, helping us do what we need to do and dealing with some of our pettiness of what we ask for. So thank you very much, and you will be missed.
Amber, thank you for everything that you've done for the board and of course for us personally. I am going to miss getting my personal text from you on my own phone. But thank you very much for hand-holding, definitely me personally, through this experience. We will definitely miss you.
Member Mazarana here. I've only known Amber for a very brief amount of time, and I'm sad that she's going. I'm sad that you're going, Amber, and it was a pleasure to meet you, and I really appreciate all your help in helping me get on this board. Thank you.
Great. So good luck to you. Thank you. Okay, the next meeting date is April 18th, 2024. Not sure if we're going to have the room at taxation. Is that where, Mr. Hum, where we're meeting?
Yes, it'll be the same two locations, Chair.
Okay, same location then for April 18th. And then any items for future agendas? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and go to our second public comment. Do you have public comment in the south? Please come up to the front and identify yourself for the record.
My name is Abad Pisa. I'm gonna be giving my time over to Mr. Ellie.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the name.
My name is Abad Pisa. I'm gonna be giving my time over to Mr. Ellie.
Excuse me, good afternoon. Executive Director James Hom and also the board. My name is Timothy Eliotto for the record, and I'm representing Shanghai Lounge. I would just like to begin by stating that I did receive an email from, I believe, from the CCB in regards to an audit. So I had complied with what the audit asked for specifically. It didn't make sense, but we still complied because we think that it was a direct discrimination against some of us that have been outspoken against the corruption that is currently happening in the system. So I hope that the information that you were looking for, I hope that you found exactly that. And unfortunately, it's not going to silence our voice because we know that what we did and what we continue to do is right, and we're going to stand by that. Okay. Before I continue, I would like to please state that for the record, initially I had spoke to the governor's office, which took at least about 11 months before we finally received any statement from the CCB, in which the CCB did give us a statement, in which what you really accomplished by stating is that you have no connection with Aisha Goins and CEIC. I sat and personally stated that Tyler Clemens, our previous director, was involved. I wrote claims to both the to the governor's office. Any one of those claims was ignored. Instead, what you decided to do is audit us. We asked for the audit of the process from the CCB, in which it was due to the lack of transparency. Instead, what we received, and this is to the public, just so you understand with clarity what is going on, instead of having the CCB audited for their lack of transparency, we got attacked. And I did provide you what you're looking for, right? And ever since then, I have not received any confirmation or email to even indicate that you have received it and everything is good. Or if there is anything that we need to be aware of, we haven't received it. So we honestly believe that this was an attack, discriminatory attack on us to silence us. But the good news is, unfortunately, we have a greater God. And we're going to keep fighting for what's right. So I'm here to remind the board once again on what the initial claims that we stated was.
I just want to thank you for the Cannabis Lounge application process. We successfully submitted for our cohort, the application program, successfully application yesterday. Submitting today. So I just wanted to
Okay, you're at 3 minutes and 18 seconds.
Thank you. We wanted to know why you totally ignored this claim. We stated that in the claim that was sent to the governor's office and also did file with the attorneys general, in which I received, instead of the attorney general following the case, we instead got audited. So we understand that there are specific government agencies that are complicit to this. We get that. Okay. Just to remind the board once again, this is what we stood up for. We're asking you once again, how come the chair of the subcommittee that was appointed by Tyler Clements became the recipient of these 7 licenses? You just heard Chandler Crooks speak. What did Tyler state? In your statement that you gave me, you stated specifically that you have no affiliation with them. You don't even know how many applications were submitted by them. You just heard the man literally tell you. So you are aware of it. This gentleman and Aisha both stood in this same room. Each and every single meeting, after every meeting, you met with them personally and had personal conversation with them. We have it all on record. Please, where is your stand on these claims? The public wants to know transparency. We want to know why this lady that was placed on the subcommittee.
You have 1 minute and I will allow you having this. Yeah, no, he's at 5 minutes and 15 seconds and I'll let you have this time. No.
Okay.
I mean, you can go ahead. I mean, we'll close up the.
That's fine. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, the meeting.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So what we're stating is that what is your responsibility to securing that your processes is transparent and ethical? It's up to you. Right now, what you're showing us is that you have common interests with common specific groups, and I'll name them again. EIC, Chamber of Cannabis. You recycle these same people, and what they do is your bidding. Because what do they do exactly? We could go back into meetings in which they stated we were opponent into everything that they were proponent of. And is the same reason why we still have a lack of diversity in ownership. When it comes to ownership in the MME licenses, there's a lack of diversity. We could all agree. Okay. The problem is
thank you. All right, thank you.
This is the reason why.
You're over 6 minutes. Thank you so much. Okay, and with that, we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
Oh, no, there's public comment, Chair.
Oh, is there more public
comment? Yep.
Okay. I didn't see anybody there.
No one physically. I think we have it online, Chair.
Oh, we do. Okay, perfect.
Provide public comment. Dial *9 to raise your hand or click the raise hand icon if joining via Zoom. Katrie Saunders, go ahead.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. This is Katrie Saunders for the record. I am a longtime patient advocate and I help build the industry in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thank you for your time today. Nevada's Cannabis Control Board and a call for transparency and reform. I'd like to echo the sentiments of Eliado and Angel as well. Since legalization, I've witnessed a disturbing trend within the Nevada Cannabis Control Board, CCB. There seems to be a revolving door of leadership, with Dion Conting stepping down and being replaced by Tyler Klimas. She also owned 8 licenses, and they were sold for $29 million. However, the concerning part is that the business practices remain unchanged. It appears as if they are simply swapping people into positions to mask the ongoing corruption within the industry. The lack of transparency is unacceptable. We need a complete overhaul of the system. Furthermore, I was deliberately excluded from recent regulations changes crafted being selected. I was left out by 0.5%. This feels like it's strategic and systematic attempt to silence me for speaking out against the white collar crime and the bad business practices that plague the CCB, which I have aptly nicknamed the Nevada Corruption Board. The corruption has significantly impacted my life. Despite helping build this industry and generate revenue for the state of Nevada and local business owners, I'm still fighting for justice. Even with the passing of SB 277, I continue to face oppression for raising my voice. During the last CCB meeting, I raised a critical public health concern with the lack of proper labeling regarding radiation exposure on cannabis products. This vital information was inexplicably omitted, seemingly at the best interest of someone within the CCB. They told me that they just decided that they didn't want to put it on there, which is totally unacceptable and criminal and needs to be audited. We deserve better for Nevadans, deserve the Ethical Cannabis Control Board to prioritize public safety and fair treatment for all participants in the industry. Let's hold the CCB accountable and ensure we have a safe and thriving cannabis industry in Nevada. This matters to me because I've helped build the industry from medical to retail, and then they changed the law to exclude me, only in the wake of social justice and you guys wanting to pass this lounge bill that you added social equity in there, which it really wasn't a benefit for people that have been affected by the war. It was a benefit for the owners that had already been built out, because when I worked at the source in 2016, they started building for a lounge license. So you can't tell me that it was for social equity. Social equity was only an afterthought so that you guys can get your bills and language passed. This is a huge problem. This is not the gold standard, more like the brown standard of the industry. And
30 seconds.
Thank you for your time. And you guys will all be held accountable.
Thank you. Do we have any additional comments?
We have no additional comment.
Okay. There's no comment in the north. Any additional comment in the south? Seeing none. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and adjourn this March meeting, everyone. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Go to my cannabis hall.